Botswana Betso, as you're all aware, on the 11th of March 2020, the World Health Organization, WHO, declared COVID-19 outbreak as a global pandemic. Since then, we have seen the devastating effects of this pandemic worldwide. Last night, Botswana confirmed with regret 3 cases of the COVID-19 virus. I have been monitoring closely the situation with keen interest, and it has become apparent that urgent and necessary steps need to be taken to protect our country and its people from this deadly virus. The threat to Botswana has escalated considerably in view of the fact that our neighboring countries have seen a rapid rise in confirmed cases, some of which have resulted in fatalities. The other challenge is the low rate of testing of suspected cases in Botswana and cumbersome health protocols. The return of some of our citizens and residents from high-risk countries has also escalated the threat of the virus in our country. Therefore, after consultations with relevant stakeholders, it has become clear to me that it is necessary to declare a state of public emergency for the purposes of taking appropriate and stringent measures to address the risks posed by the COVID-19 pandemic. Section 17 of the Constitution of the Republic of Botswana empowers the President to declare a state of emergency at any time. Where the President declares a state of emergency when Parliament is not sitting, such state of emergency ceases after 21 days. I have considered that proceeding in this manner would not allow for consultation and buy-in across the political spectrum because this pandemic knows no political boundaries. I have also considered that 21 days would not be sufficient to employ the necessary measures to fight this pandemic. So, as a result, in terms of the powers vested in me under Section 17(1) of the Constitution, I, Dr. Mokgweetsi Eric Masisi, President of the Republic of Botswana, do hereby declare that a state of public emergency shall exist from midnight on the 2nd of April 2020 until further notice. I have also decided to summon a meeting of Parliament, at which meeting I will seek a resolution of Parliament for the state of emergency to continue for a longer period. The reason for summoning Parliament to meet is to allow for healthy and honest debate, and also allow for Parliament to then authorize for a duration that is sufficient to fight the pandemic. The escalation of measures to fight the COVID-19 pandemic from the Public Health Act to the Constitution will allow Parliament to provide the necessary oversight role of ensuring that the emergency powers regulations are within the parameters set out in the law, and also to ensure that mitigating factors are indeed implemented. In this regard, as President of the Republic of Botswana, I intend to swiftly do the following: issue a proclamation declaring a state of emergency and summon Parliament, which, as you are aware, has recently adjourned to meet within 7 days thereof, as well as sign and publish the state of emergency regulations. While the state of emergency is in place, there shall also be extreme social distancing commencing on 2nd April 2020 at midnight for a period of 28 days. This decision was by no means taken lightly. I am convinced that I make it in the best interest of our nation. During this period of extreme social distancing, all individuals across the country will be expected to adhere to a more severe form of social distancing, where movement out of the homes is only restricted to those performing essential services and transporting essential goods. Those involved will be permitted to travel using the COVID-19 travel permit that will be issued by government. I encourage our people to continue practicing social distancing during this period. Let me once again remind you that social distancing is an extremely critical tool and method in the fight against COVID-19. By social distancing, we refer to any public measure taken to reduce interaction and contact between persons. The measures are taken to limit the spread of diseases that are transmitted between humans through touching and coughing. In this case, we refer specifically to the COVID-19 virus. Botswana Betso, it is important to explain the steps that follow from declaring a state of emergency. Where a state of emergency has been declared, Section 3 of the Section 3 of the Emergency Powers Act, Cap 2204, empowers the President to make emergency regulations. Under the Emergency Powers Act, the President can make such regulations as appear to him to be necessary or expedient for, amongst others, securing the public safety and the defense of the Republic, the maintenance of public order, and for maintaining supplies and services essential to the lives of the people, as well as effective management of COVID-19. Such regulations are currently being drafted, and it is intended that these regulations will be cross-cutting. Botswana Betso, government has put in place interventions under the COVID-19 Relief Fund, key of which is to ensure the provision of psychosocial support to all those affected. Other critical mitigating measures in place are monetary in nature, while others will necessitate policy adjustments. The objectives of these interventions are to give support to some workers, stabilize businesses, ensure availability of strategic supplies, and explore opportunities for economic diversification. Support to workers. Government will provide a wage subsidy for citizen employees of businesses mostly affected by COVID-19 to enable them to retain employees. Stabilizing businesses. To give businesses some cash flow relief, government will do the following: guarantee loans by commercial banks to businesses mostly affected by COVID-19, give eligible businesses affected by COVID-19 access to credit to support ongoing operations in conditions where credit becomes more difficult to obtain, and give tax concessions to businesses in eligible sectors. The Ministry of Finance and Economic Development will provide more details on the criteria and guidelines for implementation of these particular measures. Ensuring the availability of strategic supplies. Government will ensure the continued availability of strategic supplies to Botswana. These will include a build-up of grain reserves, a build-up of fuel reserves, as well as a reduction of fuel prices, as global fuel prices have dropped significantly. Sufficient provision of water bowsers, trucks, water tanks, and the supply of medical equipment. Financial services industry. In the financial service industry, banks have agreed to offer restructuring of loan facilities through which each bank will consider each case within their credit policy and parameters. This will include owner-occupied residential property mortgages and motor vehicle loans. All commercial banks will offer a payment holiday for 3 months, with the option to extend to 6 months to the affected sectors. Regular payment obligations, including life insurance premium payment, retirement fund contributions, and loan installments, will be restructured and rescheduled to offer relief for at least 3 months to COVID-19 affected people, subject to individual policies. Ease of doing business. To facilitate business and keep the economy running, all government institutions will pay government purchase orders within 5 days, and parastatals will pay within 24 hours. Improve the efficiency of procurement processes. Government will pay all outstanding arrears for invoices within 2 weeks and extended the validity period of GPOs. And VAT refunds to businesses will be expedited to assist with cash flow. Fiscal policy. I wish to remind you that government has established the COVID-19 Relief Fund and put up an investment of 2 billion pula as seed money into it. I encourage individuals and the private sector to contribute to this fund, the latter as part of their social responsibility. I want to extend my sincere and deep gratitude to those who have already contributed to the fund and those who have indicated their immediate desire to. Post-COVID-19 interventions. As government, our interventions are not limited to just addressing the impact of the outbreak of this pandemic. We are also preparing our economy for post-COVID-19. To this end, we are developing an economic stimulus package that will buffer the impact we foresee on our economy. Further details and guidelines to this intervention and the relief measures I have just announced will follow from my honourable ministers. In conclusion, I wish to thank all Botswana and residents for cooperating with government in fighting this pandemic. I particularly want to express my profound gratitude to those who are in the front line of this war, and I'd like to assure them of continued full government support in their invaluable service to the nation, and we shall never abandon you. I wish to reiterate to fellow citizens and residents of Botswana that there is no need to fear or panic, and therefore no need for panic buying of essential goods. I once again want to reassure you that we have allowed for the transit of goods and services both within Botswana as well as across borders. We are also in constant communication with our neighbors to guarantee the flow of essential goods and services into our country. I personally have been in touch, sometimes twice, thrice a day, with heads of state in the neighboring countries to arrange for even further support to our people and economy. So, let me once more remind you that we are in this together, every step of the way. Let us adhere to and comply with the regulations to take our country through this challenging period in our history as a republic, and be reminded that these new measures are an addition to the already existing health protocols. I plead for your cooperation. Let us thank the Almighty God and continue seeking protection and guidance from Him. I thank you for your attention. Apulaini.